Hi everybody, my name is Peter Amster. I am the director for the Merry Wives of Windsor, the opening Shakespeare production of the Utah Shakespeare Festival. I am very happy to be here, to be talking to you. One of the things I think was quite wonderful for me anyway is to be directing the Merry Wives as the kickoff for the initiative to produce every play in the Shakespeare canon here at Utah Shakespeare Festival. And one of the reasons I think it was a smart choice for David Ivers and Brian to do that, to start with this show, is its accessibility. It's an easy play to understand. It's an easy play to really enjoy. It's written mostly in prose rather than the Shakespeare's high poetry, and it's unique in the canon in that it is the only one that is set in Shakespeare's contemporary England. He set it in Windsor instead of the vasty fields of France or the Athens of his imagination like Midsummer Night's Dream or the coast of Illyria as in the Twelfth Night. These were the people that he knew and understood and was illuminating with an enormous amount of affection all the foibles of this small town. And one of the things I love about it, it reminds us somewhat of the kind of sitcoms that take place in small towns that we look at today. There are similar characters. There is similar foibles in terms of the people, jealousies, parents who are getting headaches from their kids who are falling in love with each other and not telling their parents about it. There is dealing with foreigners who are coming into town and making fun of them because they talk funny. There are all these kind of things that are so familiar to all of us, and these characters, even though they were written over 400 years ago, they are so familiar. One of the things I think is also wonderful about this play is that Shakespeare managed to incorporate two different plays, two different stories threaded together quite brilliantly. The one is the Merry Wives themselves, who each receive a mash note, a love letter from the character of Sir John Falstaff, the big fat aged knight, who is short on money and thinks he's going to be able to get it out of these ladies by wooing them. He is one of the most charmingly deluded characters in Shakespeare. And of course the wives are very sharp and they get the letters and they plan to really give him a hard time, and they do. So there's that story going on, and then there's the story of young Anne Page and her three suitors. That's one of the Merry Wives' daughter. She's all of 17 years old, and there's these two idiots who are trying to win her hand, mostly for her father's money. And there's a young man who confesses that first he did it for the money, but then he fell in love with her. And so it's about their using their resources and courage in order to make true love last, to make them rise to the top. And he weaves these stories together, Shakespeare does, in a kind of magical pattern of back and forth, in and out, high and low. I think probably I'm pretty sure, I haven't had a chance to talk to the artistic directors about exactly why they've decided to do all of Shakespeare's plays. I mean, I suppose there's a kind of collector's impulse in all of us. Let's get a whole set. Let's see the whole thing. But one of the things that I think make this such a noble and good thing to do is that when you've seen the whole canon, you've seen practically the entire range of human experience. Shakespeare deals with everything. He deals with, Harold Bloom has written a book called Shakespeare and the Invention of the Human. He claims that until Shakespeare, the human, the idea of what it is to be human, didn't exist because it didn't have the language that explored it profoundly, beautifully, deeply, courageously, funnily. And that Shakespeare in some ways created what we understand the human to be by writing all of these wonderful, wonderful plays. Some are more challenging than others, some whose authorship might be questioned, or might be like Henry VIII or Tomb Noble Kinsman, that might be partially written by Shakespeare. And of course there's this whole theory about that it wasn't Shakespeare at all that did it, but I think it was the Earl of Oxford or somebody like that. And of course they made this wonderful movie, Anonymous, which as far as I'm concerned is a fairy tale. I believe Shakespeare wrote Shakespeare. Again, back to the notion of why this play, for me anyway, why I wanted to direct it, is because I'm also an opera director, and I've directed Otto Nicolai's opera, Die lustige Weiber von Windsor, The Merry Wives of Windsor. It's a very charming German operetta, and also Verdi's Falstaff, which is a great opera. But I've never had the chance to do the source material of this play. So going back to the original play and to see how Nicolai and how Verdi and Boito, his librettist, chopped it up, rearranged things and all that, gave them different words, and how much of actual Shakespeare they actually used was really quite exciting and interesting to do. And to get back to the source material and discover the real human impulses inside the original story and Shakespeare's genius, and it was an enormously satisfying experience for me. But that's a sideline anyway. But I would entreat all of you to come and first come see The Merry Wives of Windsor, because I'm very pleased with the production. I think it's a hoot. I think it's got some really wonderful characters, comic performances. Roger Peoples, who's playing Falstaff, is a comic genius. He's funny, he's human, he's generous, he's adorable. There's a young up-and-coming guy named Matt Zambrano who's playing Dr. Caius, one of the funniest people ever to rise up. He's just out of graduate school. And it's so wonderful to see all these young people rise up with enormous talent and seeing them for the first time. So those are just two examples of why you should come see this, and also the whole experience of seeing a play at the Adams Theater. If you haven't done it, you really owe it to yourself, because you sit down, it's beautiful out, it's finally cooled off a little bit, the moon is coming up over the top of the stage. When we have a night scene and we play the crickets, the real crickets actually join in. It's just a really delightful place to come and see any kind of play, but particularly to come and see Shakespeare.